And I feel like I'm constantly talking to clients about, we don't need facts and figures. They can find the facts and figures if they're interested in your facts and figures. What they need is, or what's going to work is a story, something that's going to connect them with you, right? And so,
Cinetherapy podcast with Sam and Mitch, or Dad.
Welcome to the Cinetherapy podcast by Inland Film Co. I'm Mitch Williams. This is episode 12. In this week's installment, we sit down with special guest, cinematographer and filmmaker Ryan Ferguson. We talk about how technology has affected modern-day parenting, Ryan's backstory, how he started Cavalier, and why Ryan believes it is essential for every filmmaker to start by first shooting a wedding, and much, much more. Enjoy.
This is Black Coffee Company from Missoula, Montana.
I've heard of them. Are they good?
Yeah, it's good.
Well, you're drinking it.
You're drinking it. You're drinking
it.
it. We were in Missoula over the weekend. And I got on Sprudge. Looked up Missoula. They did an article on one coffee shop. And that was Black Coffee.
What's Sprudge?
Yep. Exactly. There we go.
Okay.
Exactly.
No,
I'm on the same page.
Good job. Good job. I feel closer to you, Ryan.
Cool.
That you didn't know what Sprudge was.
Perfect. Yeah.
That makes me feel like, because for a while here, I'm sitting here like, you guys are on another level with your coffee talk.
Sure.
If you don't know what Sprudge is, that means that you're closer to my level.
I'm closer to your level.
Which than I expected.
Yeah. Go good.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah. You know, Mitch, I like to try to dabble in both camps. You know, you want to talk Folgers diner coffee. I'm with you, man. You want to get all high and mighty about whatever your single origin roasted beans are. I'll yuck it up in kind.
Good. This is great.
This is a single origin Guatemala today.
Oh yeah, I prefer Colombia. You know
I
what?
prefer Kenya,
True story.
so it's no big deal.
I took my daughter to Thomas Hammer. Are we going? Does this start?
course.
Is there a
It
starting
started
process?
so long ago.
I took my daughter to Thomas Hammer, and there was pictures on the wall, and she was like, "Oh, those must be coffee beans." And I was like, "No, I don't think so. Those look like cherries." And then they're coffee beans. Like I didn't really. So we sat there and Googled and watched videos on how coffee. It's very fascinating. I didn't really know all of the ins and outs.
I love
of
that your
making
daughter
coffee.
is the one who got you into
For sure. Well, she's kind of a scientist. She enjoys that.
I love it. My 3-year-old son has brought up things before that I was like, no, son, that's not. Oh, what a great question. How about we just start Googling this?
Right. What did parents do before Google is the real question.
Oh my
They just said, no, you're wrong. And then they lived with it.
I think there needs to be a setting on Google, on the Google Homes, that when they recognize your kid's voice, they say, ask your parents.
That would be awesome.
Because the other day, my daughter goes, hey, Dad, how long do houseflies live? And I'm like, oh, I think they're probably like 3 or 4 days. And she looks at me and she goes, okay, Google, how long do houseflies live? And it's like houseflies live 24 to 32 days or something like that. And she looks at me and she doesn't even say anything. She just looks at me and just like disappointed, like Dad, right? So from now on, I need Google, when she asks a question, ask your father. That should be the response, because who cares how long a housefly lives? What's important is that she thinks I know everything, right? How ridiculous.
You don't know everything.
Yeah.
This is a Google
This is
advertisement.
fantastic.
I love this so much.
You're no longer we came from the days where like Dad was the hero, Mom was the hero.
Right.
That's not going to be
Everything
the case.
gets fact checked.
Yep.
I don't want to be fact checked in my own house.
Can we make a spoof of this? Can we do this?
Oh, that is fantastic.
You can have
I
it.
like that.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, let's do it.
So last night
you can be talent. In
Yeah.
this.
you're going to be, you and your daughter. This is
Great.
perfect.
Yeah, great.
Last night,
She'll love it.
Last night, Harrison, little 3-year-old Harrison, looked up. We have an Echo. We're all Amazon. He looked at it and he looked at me and he said, "Can we listen to music?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, "Lexa." He just mumbled something.
Sure.
I don't even know what he said. And all of a sudden, Nicki Minaj started blasting.
Perfect.
And Shayla and I looked at each other in just fear, like, oh no, he can just mumble something and she'll start playing something, and he's sitting there like this is a good song. I'm like, I don't know what this song is. I've never heard this song before. We're super worried. He did it again this morning. He mumbled something. Rap starts playing. Oh, and Shayla goes, Sam, should we stop this? And he goes, Daddy likes this song. She's like, Sam, have you listened to this song before? I don't know.
Your son.
I don't know.
Your son is speaking to Alexa like as if anybody else who's asking for mumble rap, and so it's just.
Well, that's exactly right.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's playing
here's
mumble
21
rap.
Savage. Okay. Yeah.
That's funny.
Post Malone. Okay.
I like that.
We need to like have a formal start to this podcast though.
Okay.
We need to turn off the kegerator.
Oh yeah, it just clicked on as you were saying.
We're getting
friend,
too comfortable now.
Yeah, we are. We're joined with our longtime friend, someone I grew up with in elementary school and went to a bit of high school with as well.
Did you see the picture I sent?
Have you seen that? Yeah.
It's pretty glorious.
That was amazing.
So we got Ryan Ferguson here. Ryan?
Hi, guys.
Hi. Who are you? Tell us about
I'm
yourself.
supposed to introduce myself?
No, yeah. I'm going to make you introduce yourself right now.
My name's Ryan, as you said, and I run a video production company called Cavalier. Is that what you want to know?
Sure.
And I live in Spokane, and I went to the Art Institute of Seattle. So I went to art school, which makes me an artist. So what else do you want to know? What else do you need to know, really?
So we'll start with, this.
I spent 3 months selling tools at Sears. Did you want my whole resume?
Yeah.
I was a back server at Red Robin for a while.
Okay.
I painted houses. That was a disaster.
You're good at
How
it
did
now,
that-
though.
I worked at KHQ.
Okay.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
Wait a minute.
6
Okay,
months.
hold on. Now we need to slow down. You worked at KHQ?
I did.
6 months?
I think it was about that
What
long.
did you do?
I was a weekend editor. I edited the news for the weekend show. And then I also rolled, is what they call it in the biz, the 5 and 6 o'clock news.
Really?
My claim to fame was that I got a new phone and I was not paying very close attention, and I loaded the 6 o'clock rundown. The person who rolls the video sits outside the studio, and you have a terminal where you load all of the videos in a playlist, and it goes in A, B, and C, and it's all ordered. And so all your job is you listen to the director in your ear. He says roll A, roll B, roll C, and you click the space bar, it auto populates the next film. It's a monkey could do it. It's very simple. Except if you load the 6 o'clock show rundown during the 5 o'clock show, realize about 20 seconds before you're going to go on air, and then quickly try to change it, removing all of the video from the queue. And so all of the anchors go on air, and the A block is it's nothing but videos. Nothing is where it's supposed to be. Director screaming in my ear. I'm sweating, trying to fix it out. All the anchors are on air going, well, it looks like we have some technical difficulties here. Just like vamping. It was probably the worst moment of my life. It was pretty terrible.
But there was no camera on you.
No.
That would have made it much better.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
I wanted to hide. I was in the
member
fetal
of the
position
audience,
under my desk.
Director, like The Office, just a camera like moves over to the guy sweating.
Oh my gosh, dude, it was so terrible. So, anyways, if you know any news stations that are hiring, I've got some experience.
I mean. Did you have to cut it? You cut stuff there.
So I cut the weekend, not the evening news. I cut the weekend stuff. So I would go in Saturday morning at 2 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, and I would sit in a little edit bay. And I had a script, and it would be like what the story is and like maybe what the video they needed from. And most everything was pulled from the AP or from CNN or something like that. And so you'd go and you'd grab the footage and you'd pull it into your bin, and you would chop up, 3 to 5 little second clips, right? And then you'd make it about a minute long. And then you'd duplicate it in case the story went long. So it was just the same footage rolling over and over. It's very uncreative and very simple. And then you just check that off the box. Well, the Saturday morning show started, I think, at 6 a.m. It was 6, 7, 8. It was a 3-hour show, or maybe 7, 8, 9. So it was a 3-hour show. So it was just, and I mean, it's the weekend news in Spokane. It's like all national story. I mean, it was really pretty boring. So I would edit from about 1 till 6, and then I would roll 7, 8, 9. So I was done at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock on Saturday morning.
And then you did Sunday too?
And then Sunday I'd come in. Sunday wasn't as long of a show, so I'd come in about 4 in the morning on Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday, I went out with some friends the night before because they were visiting. And I was like, no big deal. Like, I just won't sleep. Or no, that's not true. I'd go in at like 3. It was a little bit earlier. And I woke up about half an hour before the show was supposed to start. Super Bowl Sunday, and Super Bowl was on NBC, which is, I work for KHQ. So this is like a pretty big news day. I don't know why people thought they were going to be watching the morning Sunday news because the Super Bowl was out, but everybody's excited about it, and I slept through my alarm. So I called the producer, who she didn't even check that I wasn't there, and I'm like, I just woke up, and she's like, no. And so she called. They had to call like 2 other editors to come in so we could try to get it done before the show started. Otherwise, the show would have had no video to play, and it would have just been the anchor talking the entire time. So as you can tell, I was a very good employee at KHQ, and I'm not really sure why I left now that I think about it.
Yeah, they really lost an asset.
They really lost an asset. Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, I did a great job, and everybody really liked me.
Can you tell me what were you editing in at there? Like what?
It's software you've never heard of.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was called. It was like Grass Valley or something. I mean, it was seriously, it was not Avid. It wasn't Premiere. It wasn't Final Cut. There was one person at the news station that had a creative job. His job was to like go out, because really, even the like stories, there was like a format of how you shot. It was like shoot 3 wide shots, a couple tight shots, everything's on a tripod, but there was very little in the way of like creativity. Not to knock the people at the news, because there are some people that do great work, but there was one guy, and his job was to like do these really cool stories, and he got to shoot on whatever the P2 cameras, the HVX something. He got to shoot on that camera, and then he had a Final Cut suite, and I was like, oh, that's like the coolest job there. Yeah. This was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, when Final Cut was cool, right?
Final Cut 7, Studio 7, I think, or 6.
Yeah, it would have been 7. I think probably 10 years ago. Yeah,
so that was my it's kind of starting, I guess, in the
filmmaking world,
in the industry.
Was after art school?
Yeah. Yep.
And at art school, did you study primarily film, or?
Well, it was a video production degree, so it was a lot more on the technical side of video stuff. I had one script writing class, but it wasn't like what you would think film school is, right? Where it's like you're getting together with films, making films, movies, or whatever. It was a lot more like just technically learning. We shot a lot on beta cams or mini DV, but like the big mini DV, the DVX 100 was just coming out, which was the camera that could shoot 24 frames a second, and that was a big deal. People were really excited about that.
Was that the Panasonic DVX?
Yes, the DVX, yeah.
That was the competitor to that XL2.
Yes, and then that Canon XH, there was the XHA1 that was a little bit later, and then the one that you guys had sitting around here somewhere, that one was out there. Yeah. I remember when the Red was announced, the first Red, and that like everybody in the school was kind of like, it was the buzz of the school. Like, did you guys hear about Red, the cinema camera? And it was like, whoa, everybody was all excited.
That,
I'm old.
Yeah. Peter Jackson was one of the first filmmakers to shoot on Red.
Was he? Yeah, I believe it.
I think so.
I know he did a lot of work with the Epic before the Epic was officially out.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the Mysterium, I think is what it was called.
Now
you can buy one for like $2,000 on eBay.
Yeah, it's amazing. People are buying up the Mysteriums because they can get them for super cheap. I remember when the Red first came out because I was watching Teton Gravity Research, snowboard films, ski films.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they got a Red that they mixed in with their 16mm film.
Pretty cool.
It was like a big deal that they had a Red, and so I was all about Red. It was the only camera it was the only camera manufacturer I knew other than that Panasonic was Red.
Yeah.
My story was super short.
No, it was a good story though. I appreciate you telling me.
It's
Shocking.
Tell us more about that single origin.
I could go back to the seasonal origin if you want. I mean, it's
The first time I met Sam,
it's no Gucci.
we sat in a coffee shop and he told me about some app, Intelligentsia. Is that right?
Yep.
And he was like, you need to download this app because it's all about coffee. And
It's a brew timer, and it
Yeah,
helps you
right.
figure out like
Yeah.
if you're gonna use
weight and all that
weight
kind of
and
stuff.
extractions. You can either say I want to put this many grams of coffee in, or I want this many grams of coffee after. We could go into this,
No,
but
it's
I know
all right.
that neither of you want to.
No, I mean,
Hey, like I said,
He's
whatever,
both camps.
wherever you want to,
Both
wherever
camps.
you want to go,
He's both camps.
I'll go there with you.
I'll sit back, watch, spectate.
So really what I wanted to talk about, my first official job that I got paid to make videos was at, and we talked about this on our last podcast episode, was at a telecommunications company here in town. And one of the product managers just kept telling me that his son's friend Ryan would make videos this way, or his son's friend Ryan would do this, or his son's friend Ryan would do this. And I kept hearing this mysterious Ryan Ferguson over and over and over again. And I'm just this like intern making little product videos. And I'd think, wow, Ryan sounds really cool. I still have no idea what
Such
I'm
a
doing.
letdown. Well, it's such a letdown when
Ryan
he finally met
sounds
me.
really cool. No. And then I
Oh,
brought up the name. My now wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, would go like, yeah, so like Mitch's friend Ryan is really, I'm like, okay, that's great. I keep hearing that Ryan is really cool. That's awesome. And then when Mitch and I started talking about films, he'd be like, dude, you should talk to Ryan. Ryan's really, but I never got to meet you. It was always just this mysterious
yeah.
figure.
Would have been better if we just left it there.
No,
We have to remove all the mysteriousness.
I have had such a great time, one, learning in my own career in filmmaking, and then getting to know you, and then becoming friends with you, and then like you, every single time we text about camera stuff, you have something up your sleeve that just blows my mind. Like, hey, I can't figure out this one thing. And you'll respond with, well, have you tried pushing this button? Oh my gosh, it's right in front of my face and I never thought about that. You always have something simple. Mitch couldn't figure out one little thing inside Premiere and you respond with, well, have you tried pushing
Well, I know this is
button?
an obvious suggestion.
Well, you guys are giving me way too much credit, and then thank you very much.
You have
maybe it
two
just comes with
unbelievably successful film companies, one in weddings, one in commercial. You've won a bunch of Addies. Have you won anything for your wedding films?
I've never submitted anything for my wedding films, but I don't.
Do
think I
wedding
would
films
win.
even have
There's
something.
there's a handful of awards. I think you can go down in Vegas, the WPPI, they do some awards and stuff like that. I've never
guarantee
submitted,
you
but,
you would sweep.
Well, I don't know about that. But thank you very much, Sam.
With that, we've referenced your wedding
Yes.
filmmaking. How long did it take you to get into weddings, after, and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah. So, to be honest with you, I started filming weddings because I thought, I wish I could remember the number. It was JVC. I don't remember. Somebody will remember it. It was a camcorder that JVC made. It was $10,000, and I really wanted it. I thought, that's what I need. And I thought, shoot, I could film these weddings for $500-$600 a piece, and it wouldn't take me super long, and I could make 10 grand. That would be awesome. And then I would have this camera that I'd be able to do whatever else I wanted to do with it. So I got into weddings thinking this is going to be easy and I'm going to make some quick money and buy some gear, and then I'll go make whatever else I wanted to make. I really didn't have much of the more you'll know me, I'm not a very I don't think out like what I'm planning on doing. I don't know what my plan is next year or the year after that. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I was like, I've got these goals. It just seemed like an easy way to make money. It's not. Weddings are really hard. But in the process, I kind of just fell in love with weddings, and I really loved making wedding films. And so that kept me in it for a long time. So the first year I think I did 5, and the next year I did 25, and it's been around that since whenever we started, 2011 or 2012.
It's awesome. And the name of that business,
Ferguson Films. Yeah. And then the commercial stuff just came because people were like, hey, have you heard of Ryan Ferguson? Like he does, right? Like Sam. And so then people would be like, or churches or whatever it was, would be like, hey, can you make this video? Retirement communities. So then it was a year or two ago, I was doing about 50-50 in the work of commercial and weddings. But I thought there were wedding clients who were like, wait, so do you do commercial stuff, or are you? And then there were commercial clients like, where are you, a wedding filmmaker? And so I wanted to split the two, and that's where I started Cavalier, and then I still have Ferguson Films for wedding stuff. So it was it's been more complicated than I thought it would maybe be, and it feels more like running 2 companies than I thought it would. I thought maybe it would just be like it was before. But
where did the name Cavalier come from?
That came from my wife and I having a brainstorming session. Actually, it was Thursday of March Madness. I won't forget that because my plan wasn't to work anyways. So we just sat up there and watched basketball and talked. And I wanted something that sounded, it doesn't have any special meaning. I wanted something that was like memorable, that you would remember what it sounded like. I wanted something that sounded kind of unique and kind of bold. Cavalier, as used as a verb, can be either kind of like, it's like edgy, right? Like some people interpret it as a bad thing. The Cavaliers were like, right? But a lot of people were like, no, these were the guys that were kind of pushing the boundaries, pushing the limits. So I thought, oh, that's a nice tie. But to be completely honest with you, I just thought it sounded cool, and that's why I picked it. So there's not like a great story behind it.
No, it's all right. Where did the name Ferguson come from?
Yeah, so that one actually, a lot of market research, and I found that people respond well to Scottish. It's my last name, so that's why I did that.
Scottish, whatever. I remember when
the Ferguson clan is responsible for the flag of Scotland.
Are they?
Yeah. Fergus. The clan of Fergus.
The clan of Fergus.
Yeah, he looked up in the sky and he saw. Well, is the flag a blue flag with a white cross or a white flag with a blue cross?
You should know this.
Yeah,
it's blue with a white cross.
Right, and so he saw the blue sky and there was like clouds, and he was like, "That's our flag." Or so the story goes.
Okay, cool. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
In relation to Ferguson Films?
Yeah.
Because on topic of the wedding world, you have told us separately off this podcast that you tell anyone, if you want to make a living and you want to get into filmmaking, that they need to shoot wedding films.
Yes.
Can you expand on that? Like what you're like, if somebody's listening to this and they're like thinking, I want to get into filmmaking, they don't know how to do it, what to do,
how to start,
where to start.
So a couple of things. Number one, the barrier of entry is pretty easy, right? You have a minimal amount of gear and you call up a friend that's getting married and say, can I follow you around and film your wedding? And usually it's going to be met with a, yeah, that'd be great. So it's not super hard to find them, but what's so great about them is that they happen really fast. Sam, you know this, you've shot weddings before, and there's not a lot of redos. Right? You don't get to shoot the bride walking down the aisle more than once. So what you get is you have to, if you approach it like, I want to be creative about this, what happens is you have events happening quickly. So it forces you to think creatively while also getting coverage. And that is something that I found to be really valuable, because oftentimes we can sit there for 20 minutes to plan out a shot, right? And sometimes we have the luxury of doing that and we can get a really beautiful shot. But most of my experience, at least, is that I've got to think really quick and I've got to come up with the shot that I want quickly because the client doesn't have time or we're running out of light or whatever it is. And so weddings flexes that muscle or works out that muscle of I've got to think creatively, but also make sure I'm getting the coverage of what I'm looking for. It also teaches your equipment really well, right? Because you've got to be able to switch white balance and shutter speeds and apertures and all that kind of stuff on the fly quickly, because you're moving from one location to the other and you don't want to miss this moment that's happening. So I think learning that was amazing. it's like an 8-hour practice in pulling focus, right? Because you're constantly filming subjects that are moving. And so you got to do that. So, I mean, there's like, and the list goes on, like the way you want to shoot a wedding, and everybody has different approaches to it. But if you want to shoot things really cinematic, it lets you use, gimbals and well, my time it was glide cams and sliders and stuff like that, and figuring out how to tell a story, using those tools. So that's all in the production side of things. I think it's incredibly valuable. Then you go to the post-production side of things, and if you want to edit a compelling wedding, you're dealing with a massive amount of footage and trying to put it together in a way that's interesting for somebody else to watch, especially somebody who wasn't there and you want them to hire you for another one if you do. It just forces you, it teaches you, I should say, how to tell stories and using emotion, right? Because the wedding day is usually filled with emotion. And so I found pretty quickly people would say, oh my gosh, I watched your wedding films and I was crying and I wasn't there and I didn't know the couples. So it kind of opened up my eyes like, hey, this medium, right? I mean, but like this is pretty powerful in the way that people will gravitate towards something, and you can use music and rearranging the chronological order of the day, right? Like I'm going to show the bride getting ready to walk down the aisle, and then I'm going to cut to the first look, and then I'm going to play some of her vows underneath and have a beautiful song there. And now all of a sudden you're invested and you're crying, and that's so much more powerful than just watching, the whole walking down the aisle and then all of the first look and then the vows separately. And so I figured out, I didn't figure it out. People do this all the time, but I saw how editing these things in a story format like that, was emotionally connecting to people who were watching. And so it's the same principle that I try to take to the commercial stuff that I do. And I do a lot of mini doc stuff. So it's like, I want to figure out the best way to put things together that bring out emotion in the people that are watching them.
I see all of that in your work.
Yeah, well, seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Seriously. I agree with that though, because I'm going to let you keep going.
No, I don't. No, go ahead.
Philip Bloom says something very similar. He only hires when he's working on documentaries for BBC. He said if he's going to bring another cinematographer with him, he only hires people from the wedding world.
Yeah,
because of literally everything you just said.
Yeah, interesting.
He has a whole video on his YouTube channel where he explains why he hires wedding filmmakers.
Yeah,
and it's everything you just said.
Yeah. No, it's a great, and the thing is, like, I mean, I set out to do it and be done with it, and it's been 8 years and I'm still doing it, or 10 years, or however long it's been. But that's not everybody's case. A lot of people will film 3 or 4 weddings and go, wow, I learned a lot and I hate weddings so much, and then they move on to something else. That's great, right? And my line of work is a lot. I'm pulled towards doc stuff. Like that's the direction. If I have a direction that I want to go, like I said, I'm not very good at direction with thinking through. But if there was one, that's where I would go more than the narrative stuff for me. So then the weddings even more so lines into that. So maybe somebody who really wants to get into like narrative filmmaking would say, I didn't get the same kind of thing you got out of weddings. That's certainly possible. But for people who are just getting started, that's why I always say that, because at the very least you learn a lot about like, oh, I've got to be like, I got to think creatively, because I think even if you're making a film, there's benefits in being able to move quickly, right? And so and still be really creative. And so I think no matter what your end goal is, I think weddings can benefit you in one way or the other.
Yeah. You're also working with so many different personalities too in the wedding world. You're working with 25 different brides a year, 25 different grooms, and
totally
their whole families,
and then
their friends,
the mothers of the bride, and
then you're also working with the people that own the venues, and they get involved,
right? And honestly, this is the other thing though that I think is really important, and not a lot of filmmakers do this, is that you're working with different couples. So your idea for this wedding film may be heavy on the romantic side of things, but if the couple you're filming isn't romantic, it's not going to work, right? You can't force, like we work with couples all the time and they're just goofy and they're fun. And so it's important for us to make sure our films reflect them and not like, let's use a bunch of slow motion and then like whatever, because if that doesn't really fit with,
totally,
you know what I'm saying?
My wife and I, when we were engaged, we the wedding filmmaker we hired offered a love story
Oh, right.
as part of
sure,
our package. We did it. It was fun.
Yeah.
We went out and we golfed, and we did an interview on the golf course.
Nice.
And we went out. My wife rides horses, so we went out and we rode. And
Yeah.
I love old film cameras, so I was using old film cameras and taking photos of her riding a horse. We were freaking hilarious and had fun. We were goofy with each other.
Yeah.
Our interviews were goofy.
Right.
The love story film that came back to us was super emotional,
Right.
and super romantic.
Totally.
And we watched it through, and we were nervous to even show our parents. We showed our parents, and both of our parents were like,
Who's this?
Is this? Well, they both looked at us and they're like, "Are we? Is this supposed to be funny? Are we supposed to laugh?"
Did you give a rose at the end?
Right. Both of our parents legitimately thought this is an SNL skit because
it's not you.
it's not you,
Right.
and we think we're supposed to laugh at this.
Right.
And so you're right. It's you have to get to know the couple.
Yeah.
I think you develop some phenomenal interpersonal skills.
Absolutely.
How to deal with people.
Yeah, for sure.
My experience in the wedding world is that I really enjoyed the weddings. I really enjoyed working with the couples on the day. I loved the adrenaline rush of getting the shot, pulling focus. You can't do it over again. I love everything, every little bit of that. I love working with the people on the wedding day. I love managing people's emotions on the wedding day. After the fact, I am absolutely terrible at communicating with people,
right.
letting them know that their project is going to be done.
Right.
I don't like working by myself, so
Right.
I get into a dark hole of not getting something done and then feeling really bad and then not emailing them back and then whatever. So if I had if I had a partner in doing wedding films,
Sure.
maybe.
Or an editor.
Or
That's
an
what you
editor.
need, is an editor.
An
That's
editor.
what I finally have.
You got an editor.
Because I was really burnt out on weddings, and then Charlie, the guy who works for me, has been editing all of my weddings, and that has really kind of reinvigorated me to be like, hey, this is fun, and I want to do this and that, and I still take an overseeing role where we work together on kind of the outline and how we're going to do it, but that makes a big difference because you're doing it all yourself. It's pretty tiresome.
It probably is refreshing too that you get a look into it more creatively about what you're going to do on the day of the film.
Yeah.
And
totally.
whereas like if you're responsible for all the editing,
Right.
there's this like, oh, and then I'm going to have to edit. And plus I have this list of
Totally.
things
Yeah.
I got to edit as well.
Yeah, and the other thing, guys, is that for a long time there was and there still is a little bit of a stigma of where it's like, oh, you're a wedding filmmaker, right? Because for a long time that was, you're a wedding photographer, wedding filmmaker if you couldn't cut it
right
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I'll still feel that, like I tend to introduce myself as the owner of Cavalier.
Yeah.
Right. You did that.
I just did that,
Yeah.
right?
Right now.
And I think about your audience or the people that are watching, it's like they don't want to hear from a wedding filmmaker. And I don't know why that, I don't know why that tends to be that way. I've been better about that. Whereas like lately it's been like, I kind of am owning, it's a lot of work to do a wedding film, and I'm pretty proud of some of the stuff we do. And so, but it is interesting that like when you introduce, it's like, oh, you're a wedding filmmaker. Like, oh, you have a film production company? Yeah. Oh, weddings. Oh, got it.
I like,
You know what I
we started this off with talking about Cavalier, and we'll go back to that.
That's fine.
Totally.
No, we'll go back to that.
Yeah, whatever.
We're creating that story, showing the
we're
bride
showing
walking down the aisle
Exactly.
first.
We're going to rearrange
Jumping
the
back
story, so
to
that we
her
get
getting
the
ready.
emotions.
You guys are getting it.
Yes.
You're getting it.
Yes.
So I want to talk about the weddings for just a second longer, but I really want to point out that like your commercial film company is like has won multiple awards, and your wedding film business is huge. And so like you've created two amazing brands.
Thank you.
Have one thing to say about the weddings. You said, if you do weddings, it'll at least, if you don't have the same experience as you, at least it'll help you figure out what you want to do. My experience with weddings is that it helped me understand that I'm a DP.
Oh, right.
Period.
Yeah.
I learned, I started to understand my strengths and my weaknesses, and I've figured out, oh, you know what? Can I do one of those too? Mitch, you pulled out the LaCroix, and we're going to use it all. Is that the only one? No.
No,
I
it's
still
fine.
have coffee
Is there
left.
something else over there? I
still
don't
have
have
coffee
to.
left.
I just like to have something to sip on.
a brewski?
Sure.
you want a beer?
I don't care. Are you allowed to drink beers in your podcast?
So I do want to say this because it means a lot to me. Weddings helped me understand that I'm a DP.
Right.
I'm a director of photography.
Yeah.
Period. Maybe 10 years down the road, I'll direct a narrative film because I had an idea and I've got connections and someone wanted to give me a shot and I had an idea. Ryan Booth was a cinematographer, and now people are saying he is a director.
Yeah.
And he is accepting that fact because he's really, really good at it.
Right.
Right now, I know because of the wedding scene, I'm a DP, and I need someone to be I need someone to be interacting with clients and telling stories, and I can film it.
Right.
I love editing, but I think editing is something I would love to be able to hand off. So it's helped me understand I have one thing that I'm really good at, and I have a lot of things that I'm not very good at.
Yeah.
I'll work on those things.
Definitely.
But at least I know I can focus on something.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to say is that you started Cavalier quietly.
Yes.
And I noticed it popped up on
that's
my Instagram.
right.
It was like somebody you may know, and I clicked on it and I started scrolling and I was like, these look like Ryan's commercial videos.
Was there even anything posted there yet?
There was one thing posted.
Okay.
And I was like, this looks like one of Ryan's videos. And then I looked you up on
That's right.
the internet, and you had just made your website live with only a couple things on it. And I was like, this is definitely Ryan, but this is really cool looking.
To give you an idea of the time, so it was March Madness, which is like the 20th of March, around there. That's when we came up with the idea to split off a commercial brand, and then we came up with the brand, and then over the next week or two, I designed the logo and slowly started working that was March. It wasn't until the next January that we told people, hey, we have a film company. So it took me quite a while to get ducks in a row.
2 years ago.
Correct.
I did text you though. And I said, what is Cavalier?
What is this?
And you said, how did you find this? Well, Instagram told me that it was something I might want to follow. And then I looked you up. And
should have known better.
Oh, I didn't know it was actually out there. I didn't know people could see it.
That's funny.
But it instantly I was like, this is mysterious. And I think this is Ryan because it looks really good. Sure enough, it was.
It also looks like me because nothing was ever posted on it, which is another characteristic of all of my social media. Very quiet.
But seriously, you said one day, I think I'm going to try for this month to post something on your Ferguson Films page every day.
Yeah. I made it 8.
You made it 8 days, but you got a lot of interaction on those days.
I did.
Because the stuff you were posting is so good. When people started seeing you post all the time, they were all about it.
Did you get a good amount of inquiries and
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was kind of December's inquiry season anyways, so there's a handful of inquiries that are going to come in. So it's kind of hard to know if it was because people saw us on social media, like, oh, wait. But I would notice we would get followed on Instagram, and then a day later or the same day, I'd get an inquiry from the person who followed us.
Yeah.
So I think this definitely, I mean, it doesn't hurt, obviously. And so the more like we are on social media, the better it is. I know this. I know this intellectually, right? The more I post, the better it is for my business. And yet, I never post.
Yeah.
So it's like an internal war within me, a conflict within me that I know what I should be doing, and yet I don't want to.
If we didn't have the daily reel, it would be the hardest thing for me to think that we like to post. Historically, I've always struggled with that, and the daily reel has been like something that we blindly committed to.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And it paid off.
Yeah,
you guys got best of division.
Best of division. Yeah.
What was the division?
Self-promotion.
Cross-platform.
Cross-platform. There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand that division. What does cross-platform even mean?
I don't
understand
any of them.
There was self-promotion in there for an advertising kind of company.
The wild thing was standing up there, and I'm just like waiting for. I know we're getting an award because they called me up there, and then I have this woman on my right, the guy on my left, and then they say, and with whatever gold Gold Award and Best of Division, and our name hadn't even been called yet. Like, the girl turns to me and the guy turned to me. They both go, "Congratulations!" And I'm like, "What?" And then they're like, "For Daily Reel, like Inland Film Co." And I was like, well,
that's awesome.
So like they knew that.
They knew already.
Yeah, they already knew. So
that's great.
Anyways, it was wild.
But to your point, if we didn't have the daily, I don't know what we would be posting and when we would be posting, because we both kind of have a similar attitude about posting. Every once in a while, we'll be like, "Oh, you know what? I think I have a couple things I could probably share."
I post on my personal page because I know that somehow that helps the business as well. Like, right. And
it helps give a pulse.
Yeah, like a pulse, whatever. And I'm something like, I don't know what to say.
Right.
I don't know what to post about. People seem to like when I post about my wife or my son.
There you go. So family. Stick with family.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I do.
Well, I now have 3. So when you're not good at social media, maybe something not to do is have 3 different, my personal, and then 2 different companies to keep track of. Not a great thing for somebody who is anti-social media.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
So let's fast forward from Ferguson Films to today with Cavalier. You've already mentioned it and talked about it. Tell us about some of those films that you work on. Like what would you say, do you have a niche? What are you most attracted to?
Yeah. So, I guess if we had a niche, it would be education, and not necessarily because we sought it out, but because it's sort of found us. So I've done a lot of work for the Education School District, Northeast Washington Education School District 101. That was kind of my introduction. And then from there, Meade School District hired me and has hired me for a number of different films. And then West Valley School District has hired me for a handful of films. And I did something that was part of the District 81, Central Valley School District. Anyways, so I find myself doing a lot of stuff around there, and I really enjoy that. I'll be honest, I really enjoy nonprofit work. It feels different, and you guys have done nonprofit stuff, and so you know that it feels different when you're working for a for-profit company, and that's great. I love doing that, but it's just different, right? And so because I love kind of leading with the heart when it comes to the stories, it just lends itself to organizational work, right? Or school district work or stuff. And the stuff for the school district is often like, the purpose of it is mostly to create a feeling that they can, put out branding, really, right? Create a feeling that goes out online so that members of the community say, "Ooh, I feel good when I think of the Meade School District." And then when it comes time to pass a bond or a levy, people remember that feeling and they vote, right? I mean, that's probably the bottom line, but it's really just, it's more of like, get this out. You don't often get, in my experience, clients that are like, "We're not looking for a specific return on investment here. Just make something that makes people feel good." Like that's a sweet client to have.
Yeah,
and so
very, very unique.
So I don't take it for granted. And then the ESD 101 stuff was, again, stuff to showcase former and current Teacher of the Year award recipients. And so their idea was to do something called 101 and 101, which was 101 seconds, and ESD 101 is the name. But basically just kind of showcase these teachers in 101 seconds. And after we went through all of the Teacher of the Year winners, they wanted to keep going. And so we did just great teachers in the area. And again, the purpose was so that you would watch and go, "Wow, we have great teachers in ESD 101, right?" There isn't much more of a purpose than that, other than just to kind of make people aware of some of the great teachers we have in this area. So that is a lot of that work. But I've also done a lot of work for loan officers or real estate agents or CPAs and stuff like that. I mean, it's more of the like, let's get a return. But even in that, my goal is sort of to I borrowed a saying from somebody and tweaked it a little bit, but it's guide the heart to move the mind is what the saying is. And I love that. The idea that we want to move people to action, but we're going to start by leading with the heart, right? So that's not technically my saying, but I tell it to people sometimes. So, but that's the idea of anything that we want to create is we want to create something that people will respond to on the heart level, and then that is what's going to move them to action.
That's a fantastic. Do you know where you heard that quote from?
I do, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you. No, I'm just kidding. Story and Heart, Patrick from Still Motion.
Okay. Guide the heart to move the mind.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that a lot.
It's pretty cool.
That,
I don't use that. It's trademarked by him. That's not like my slogan, but it's so perfectly spoken that I like to think about it.
It's great. We got a call last week. I did actually, from someone who's potentially got an opportunity to do some work around the homeless in Spokane. And this has been something that Sam and I have talked about a lot lately, that like we drive downtown, you go, 3rd Avenue used to be bad. Now 2nd Avenue is like
sure
awful. And when I say awful, I mean, it's just sad. Like it's just like a bunch of people who are without homes, or they're, potentially in Catholic charities or something. And I'm like, like we should just start some sort of little mini doc series and just go downtown on our own dime and interview, a homeless person a month or whatever, come up with these stories and like try to bring reality that these are people
for sure.
And they're not, just, whatever, live people that less than people or whatever. Anyway, so I got a call last week, coincidentally, from someone who wants to potentially hire us to do this documentary series on homeless. And I'm like, awesome.
Nice.
This is great. And that sounds great. And this person, they're interested in it from like a free market perspective, and also like some of the politics involved in Spokane and whatever. And I shared with her my idea, and she goes, I said this person the whole time, and so now we're at the she.
Yeah, we're getting closer to the naming them.
The naming. Yeah, no. So the blah 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 blah. Backtrack. So this person brings up this idea of doing a documentary series on the homeless. And when I discussed with this person our idea, I brought it up, and they said to me, well, it sounds like you have a little different perspective on, or, different take on what I'm thinking. Like, no, not necessarily. Like, I want to help these people find jobs. I want to help these people find, housing. I want to help them, bring them opportunities. I go, but the truth is, you're not going to win over one side with like where they are as far as like their hearts go if you're just focused on stats, and you're just focused on, like, if all you're doing is giving somebody information that's like about that they're supposed to make decisions based on paper. That's not how everybody thinks. A lot of people make decisions based on how most people on how their heart feels. And
so there was a study. They went to a college, and they gave people, they'd say like, hey, do a jumping jack or push-ups or something. They just had them do random things. They give them $5 $1 bills. And then as soon as they'd give them those $5 bills, they gave them a flyer and asked if they'd be interested in donating any of that free money they just got. And the first time they did it, they did a statistic on world hunger, children hunger, or something like that. And it was all the statistics. This is how many kids go without meals. This is all this stuff, right? It was just a list of stats, overwhelming, crazy stats. And I think they averaged like $1.50 or $1.60 or something. So they did the same experiment weeks later. This time, instead of statistics, they did one story of one kid and his experience, right? And the number more than doubled. It was like 270 or something is what they average people giving back. Then they did it again, and this time they did statistics and the story, and the number went back down. And so it's an interesting study, but it speaks kind of to what you're talking about, that facts and figures are a turnoff. Story is what compels people. That's what will move people to action, right? And so story gets thrown around a lot. Everybody's a storyteller, especially in the wedding industry. It's like, oh, we are storytellers. And so it gets numb almost to the point where people are like, yeah, story. Everybody's telling a story. But when you create a story that is compelling and you can attach with people, that's what's going to move them to action. And I feel like I'm constantly talking to clients about, we don't need facts and figures. They can find the facts and figures if they're interested in your facts and figures. What they need is, or what's going to work is a story, something that's going to connect them with you, right? And so most of the time people don't want that. They want to list all of the facts and figures. I think it's going to be overwhelming and people are going to, that's going to win them over. I think that study was really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hence my love for storytelling.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful.
I did just take storyteller quote, end quote, out of my description of myself on Instagram. It was on there for a long time.
Storyteller.
Yeah, I took it
Everybody's a
out, and
storyteller.
now you're making me feel like I made the right decision.
I mean, yeah.
Made the right decision?
I made the right decision by taking it off. I also took off annoying coffee
Why?
snob. I deleted it off there because Instagram shortened what they show in a description, and so now it just says more. You have to press it and it'll show you more, and I didn't want it to say more, so I made it short enough that it doesn't.
Mine says I tell stories for a living.
I like
part
that.
of.
I think mine says like amateur softball player.
Yeah.
I dig that. See, I love all those things. Mine says cinematographer because I've noticed that if I post things about cameras,
Yeah.
or about color grading, I get really cool interactions with people. If I post literally anything else, nobody cares. So
I lied. I don't have a description.
For me, Instagram and Twitter are my way of sharing camera stuff, and I am completely detached other than that. Maybe sometimes I'll post some like family stuff in my stories, my Instagram stories, because it's creative for me. I like I'm still my background is in still photography and portrait photography, and so my Instagram stories are just my creative outlet in a personal way. Facebook I don't ever use. It just, I think it's great that we post with our business, but I don't go on there. But I have a couple different Instagram pages for all my other creative idea things.
Nice.
I make fun of my father-in-law has a different email or a different website or a different whatever for literally every idea he ever comes up with.
Sure.
And
Oh yeah, I got a URL for that.
Father-in-law happens to be your dad, but my wife's dad. So we make fun of that, but then it turns right back around on me. My wife makes fun of me because I have a different Instagram page for every new idea. But my problem is I want at Sam McGhee to just be camera stuff.
Right.
And I don't want to post other things on there.
Right.
So
I get that.
but I got to get I have a creative itch, and if I don't, so I make fun of my father-in-law for having a different URL or a different email, but then I totally get it because I just got this weird creative itch, and I got to scratch it by starting a new page.
On Twitter, are you, Ryan? Are you on there for like the sports community, or are you on there for filmmaking? Like, what do you? Your friends?
I'm on there because it's the place I get my news.
Yeah.
That's just what I
was just curious.
That's what I get. Yeah.
Because I've pivoted where like, I used to primarily use Twitter for general conversation, news, like probably some political stuff as well. And then I've like found myself where I just want to like engage with the filmmaking community, but I can't help myself from like liking Liverpool Football Club stuff like all the time. So then it's like trying to feed me more Liverpool stuff and suggestions.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want more Ryan Booth. Like, so I'm like,
sure.
Or Ryan Conley or like whatever. I don't want, like, trust me, I'll get my Liverpool stuff.
Right. I like tweets occasionally. I hardly ever tweet myself. I don't ever reply to people most of the time. Twitter is, I gather, I'm not adding anything to the community. I'm just a taker when it comes to Twitter.
You add to the community when I see your tweets.
Yeah, once every like 3 weeks, I'll send out a tweet.
Yeah,
Twitter's by far my favorite social media platform. That's one I would be on more than any of the other ones.
Yeah, it used to be mine. I got away from Twitter and Facebook, especially Facebook. Deleted it off my phone about 5 years ago, and I still have it, obviously, because got to post business stuff. But so I think I like kind of pushed Twitter to the wayside as well.
Yeah.
Until probably the last year.
Yeah.
Getting back into
I've been getting back into it because Jim Cummings talked about how Twitter is the place.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. He didn't talk about it. I noticed. I don't want to say this to shut you down. I noticed that the two filmmakers that I appreciated getting information from, they would post on Instagram, but then when I started getting on, and when I say two filmmakers, more like independent, Ryan Conley, I should say three, Ryan Conley, Jim Cummings, and Ryan Booth. I noticed they post stuff on Instagram, but really where they're like engaging and talking to the community, like if you want to be like in a real-time feed with whatever they're saying, they're on Twitter. And I realized if I want to be more involved in that kind of engagement, I need to move to Twitter.
You did say though, was it Jim Cummings that someone asked, how do you keep getting featured on the Vimeo staff picks?
Oh, he said, true. That is true. He said at their mention Vimeo staff picks, like on Twitter, and that's their the staff picks group for Vimeo is really active in Twitter on Twitter. And when I checked after he said that, they had like only 20,000 followers or something. So you think if you're like, there's no way 20,000 people are pushing content to them a day.
Nice.
And so if you're looking to get featured on
staff pick,
that's where you push it.
That's what I was talking about.
Yes, sorry, I did not mean to like take away from that.
Yeah, you really.
I like the idea of. I have gotten more interaction with people in the filmmaking world on Twitter than anywhere else, but I don't gravitate towards Twitter because I'm visual with everything in my own life. So I'm on Instagram.
You're on YouTube and Instagram.
I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram. Those are where I'm interacting with things the most. But on Twitter, I mean, I started watching Escape at Dannemora. I tweeted about it and I replied to one of Ben Stiller's tweets, and he responded to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this!
Nice.
There were two writers on Escape at Dannemora, and one of them, I was on a thread with some college buddies on Twitter, and I was mentioning, everybody was referencing that on this date a year ago we were all drunk tweeting each other or something like that. And so
that's funny.
Somebody said, at Mitch Williams, where you at, or something. It was like this we just all started talking. I'm like watching Escape at Dannemora, drinking Glenn Farkless 12 or something like that. And this guy, the co-writer of Escape at Dannemora, was like, I don't know what this thread is, but I love it. And he started like engaging in ours.
Right on.
That's awesome.
I think that's really cool. And I've gotten like, I watched Place Beyond the Pines, and I tweeted about it, and I noticed that Reed Morano was listed as something photography.
ADTL.
Additional photography. And I made an assumption as to what that was, and I tweeted about it, and she responded to me and said, actually, it means that I was doing like pickup shots, and she listed off some different shots. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, first of all, Reed Morano tweeted at me, and I'm so excited.
Right.
But then people, the consensus was that I was an idiot and she was putting me in my place.
Right.
But Mitch and I talked about it. Like, neither of us thought that. We both understood that she just wanted to make sure that.
Right.
I thought she took still photos on set, additional photography. Mitch was like, no, she just really wanted to make sure that the person who did take still photos
wasn't misappropriately
credited. And,
Right.
And it was pretty respectful. And I was like, hey, I'm just excited that Reed Morano
Right.
wrote
Exactly.
back.
Yeah.
Feel important.
It's awesome.
Or that she wasn't credited for work that she didn't do.
Yeah, and
Vice
plus,
versa.
she said, I was responsible for pickup shots, and she listed off pickup whatever she got, and I had just watched the film, so it was fresh on my mind. And I was
So you
thinking,
could
oh my
think
gosh,
about
those shots that she just listed stood out in the film. Those ones were different. So those were Reed Morano, who, of course, we're mildly, weirdly obsessed with on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Either her and Jim Cummings. We constantly go back to.
We do go back to him.
Yeah.
And Ryan
Both
Ferguson.
great.
And Chip Ferguson. And there was another one we gave you recently.
Chip Ferguson.
It was. I don't remember what it was.
I feel like we do need to reference
It was Ryan and a
Right.
last name.
Don Draper.
Ryan Draper.
Ryan Draper.
Yeah.
Ryan Draper. Your corner office is right here. There's a bottle of scotch
I can
waiting
see it.
for you.
I can see it.
There's
Yep.
a window.
Yep. It's
just for you.
perfect. It is
We
perfect.
have it for probably another 30 days. So
Well, excellent.
move in.
I'm coming in.
Then move
I'll
out.
bring it in.
Our Cinetherapy set is going to have to change.
If we move out, I don't know. These people could bail, whatever. And if you need to go at any time, just tell us. We're on a talking roll.
No, we're good. I'll keep in touch with my wife, who is with all 3 of our children now. So,
Ryan, my wife, sent me this photo.
Ooh, bummer.
Blowout.
Little blowout. So
Classic.
talk to us about blowouts.
So, no joke, my son doesn't poop very much. And every time he blows out, I'm gone. And we've been waiting for him because the last 2 days he's been pushing. We're like, there's going to be a huge blowout any day. And I've been home for the last 3 days, and I left today. And as I'm driving to the studio, I get a text, and we've got poop. So I've missed every blowout. It's not even fair.
Oh, man.
But here's the thing: is like newborn blowouts. Those are great, man. Newborn Gold, it barely smells bad. They almost smell good. It smells like popcorn.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Butterscotch.
Butterscotch is a good way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, compared to the toddler,
Right.
I would much rather.
Once they start
change
eating
one of
solid
those.
food, forget about it.
Oh my
Forget
gosh, it's
about it.
horrible.
We have so many hot take starts to this episode that
we're gonna have a hard time picking. Shayla commented on the fact that she said all of the funny jokes about dads being dads changing diapers and gagging the whole time.
Yeah.
All the stereotypes. She said they're all 100% true with me. I don't really
you're
pay
bad at it,
attention
huh?
to it. But apparently I'm like, if I change a diaper, it doesn't matter how bad it is. If it's the best diaper the best poopy diaper anybody's ever changed, it's no big deal. I'm still like, I can't do it.
That's funny.
I do it,
Sure.
but it's not without some dramatic
Right.
theater.
Right.
I have the gag.
You're just so dramatic, Sam.
I have the gag reflex if I touch it, like if it ends up on my hands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's when I'm like, oh, because
Yeah,
I've always hated things on my
sure.
hands.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom said she'd give me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'd eat it, and then all of a sudden, I'm sitting in my high chair and I'm like, I want my.
You're freaking out because
Yeah,
you got jam on your
I
hands.
just don't like things on my. I
Sure.
gotta clean my hands. If I get the tiniest sticky feeling, anyways.
Yeah.
So your mom has pointed out many times that our son, your nephew, reminds her of you as a baby, you as a kid, you as a toddler.
Yeah.
Harrison got avocado, he got peanut butter, he got things on his hands, and he's like, clean them, cleaned them. And he wants his hands cleaned before he keeps eating. He freaks out.
Funny.
There's
I
always,
can't relate to that.
see, this is just ridiculous. The stories keep coming.
The amount of
coming true.
napkins I go through during like a meal is ridiculous. Like I want it off my lips. Like I want.
Yeah. Okay. You're very interesting.
So we all go to the same barbershop, but we go to the same barber.
Right.
Billy Jones said, last time I was in there, Billy said that his daughter was sick the night before. And he goes, isn't it interesting that if it's your kid who pukes on the floor, you'll totally clean it up, no problem. But if it's like a drunk friend from college, there's no way I'm not touching that.
It's going to sit there until the next morning.
Right.
And you're going to tell your friend to clean it up.
He says this, and I responded with, no, I'm still the same exact way with my son's puke. I can't. I'll clean it up happily. I'm his father, but
Sure.
I'm still having the worst time, and I am gagging the whole time.
That's funny.
And I have to leave the room at least twice before it's done. And
We have seriously pivoted from, business, wedding films, corporate films, beautiful heart, the heart.
Right. To bodily fluids.
Yeah, bodily fluids.
Dad
It's
therapy.
kids.
I mean, I
It's
might as
dad
well.
therapy.
I might as well
therapy.
tell the story of my dog puking the other night. It's not that interesting, but it was just
No,
Thor puking is actually-
animal body fluids. I'm out on. Forget about it.
yeah.
I can't.
Well,
I can't do it.
this is a good
My wife is like just superwoman. She'll just whatever show up and
yeah, she doesn't
clean
even
up,
care.
whatever. And I'm like, you are.
It's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So the name of this podcast does get its meaning from our conversations. We talk on. We have Marco Polo, which is an app that some have told me is the Snapchat for dads who don't understand Snapchat, which is
No.
hurtful.
No, I hate those people. Whoever they are, they're wrong.
But we
Are you on Snapchat?
Yeah, I know what Snapchat is.
Are you on it?
Yeah, I'm on Snapchat. I snap once every 3 weeks.
Really?
He sounds like
Yeah.
a dad when
You
he says
snap?
that.
I snap, man. I'm a snapper.
He's a snapper.
He sounds like you were both okay. Perfect. So that segues into what I was about to say is that we have a group where we talk all the time and we call it Dad Therapy.
Correct.
And then on Instagram we have
If
a
we
group.
tried to use Snapchat to communicate, you'd be screwed because your Marco Polos are like 3.5 minutes long.
You told us one day. You told me one day. You said, "Sam, these videos are way too long. You just need to start a podcast." So we went out and we did it, and we
Is that true?
Call
You're
it
making that up.
Cinetherapy.
Is that true?
no. You told me that my Marco Polos were way too long.
I know I said that. I don't remember saying
And then my other
podcast.
friend David told me, your
okay.
Marco Polos are way too long. You just need a podcast.
You need a podcast. There you go.
I-
and now
and-
your podcast is
And
too
I
long.
had
Now the podcasts are too long.
I had told Sam I wanted to start a podcast for quite some time just because we had people asking us a bunch of questions. We're so popular, like we're famous.
We're so famous.
celebrities.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
We're the
it's
most famous.
the
Yeah.
the
Well,
greatest.
my
the
mentions,
greatest.
my mentions are blowing up.
They're blowing up, yeah.
Ever since we started.
Are you like on Snapchat Live or something like that with that right now?
Do they have
I
Snapchat?
don't know.
I'm
I
on
don't know.
Periscope.
No, Periscope. Okay. No,
We've been streaming live on Twitch this whole time.
it wasn't even just people asking us. It's just that we would have these conversations with you
Right.
or other filmmakers, and they've run into these problems. I'm like, if other people are running into these problems, like,
Right.
let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
And whether people listen or not doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of us sitting down, and there's something therapeutic
For
about
sure. Yeah. For sure.
retelling a story. And then I can't tell you how many times Sam mentions something, a story we've already talked about, and then I'm like thinking further and deeper into it. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we should have
Right.
tried this or whatever. Then Sam hears from you that we need to start a podcast, and Sam hears from David, and then it's like, Mitch, we just need to start a podcast. Well, we just need to start
we
a podcast.
talked about it for forever.
Setting up microphones and getting all this here, and I was like, okay, well, let's just sit down and do it.
We just did the first episode.
I love
We
it.
sat down and did it.
Yeah.
And here we are. Episode
12 or 11 episodes later.
We don't know.
Maybe 13. Who knows?
Yeah, this could be part 2 of Ryan Ferguson. We don't know.
What is
Here we
your favorite? You said nonprofit's your favorite, probably, to work.
Yeah.
Nonprofit are your favorite films. potentially, at least on your corporate side, would you say that you prefer one or the other? Do you want to be out of weddings altogether someday and all in on corporate work, or vice versa, or have to?
So, good question, Mitch. I don't necessarily want to leave weddings immediately. If I had to choose, I would choose the corporate work for sure over wedding work, especially because of, like Sam mentioned, all the things that come. Weddings are a lot of work, and compared to like what you get paid in the corporate world, like you get paid significantly less in the wedding world, even though it is still a substantial amount, for people paying for wedding films. So I mean, if I had my choice, I would just do commercial work. But I still do I feel like there is something about wedding film. In fact, I will find that a lot of times the things that I'm trying or implementing in my wedding work are stuff that start to bleed over into my commercial work. So I think weddings are sometimes for me a great place for me to kind of beta test style choices, or or different things like that, pieces of equipment. So I think that commercials are definitely where I'm leaning towards, or commercial work, but I don't plan on giving up the weddings necessarily anytime soon. I still really enjoy being involved in it. Yeah.
It's obviously paid off really well for you as well.
And weddings are nice because it's you don't have to hustle super hard. Once we've got a pretty decent brand established now, and as long as we continue to shoot weddings and post them on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, the phone tends to ring. And so it's not something that we spend a significant amount of money or time trying to market or get new clients. Like we're fairly established, and so it feels like it would be kind of silly to just be like, we're done with weddings. You know what I mean? I still enjoy. Free cake, free booze. All summer long. Who's going to complain about that? You know what I mean?
That's why you're
that's why I'm
Marco Poloing us at Planet Fitness so often.
Exactly. In the summer.
Yeah.
Right. Because of all of the cupcakes that I eat every single weekend.
And the beer.
Yeah. It's bad news, man.
Yeah.
When I was still photographing weddings, I photographed with you one time. You were the filmmaker that was hired, and I was the photographer.
Do you remember when I ate it? That wedding?
No.
Didn't I send you the clip?
No.
I realized right before the ceremony was going to start, I don't know if I clicked record on my recorder because I was shooting it by myself that day. So I've got a camera in the back set up already, and I'm running up the stairs because the way the wedding was, right, there was that back deck. That's where the audio guy was. And I'm running up the stairs with my monopod and camera in hand, and I start to slip. We can't catch yourself with a camera, so I just go Superman and slide across the deck, and I'm just covered in dirt, and I have it on my back camera. You can see me just totally eat it going up the stairs.
You didn't send that to me.
Yeah, I did send it to you. We talked about it on the day, and we laughed and we laughed. It's amazing. Yeah, I wonder if I still have it. I'm sure I do.
You need to pull it up. You have to.
I'll send it to you. Yeah, you can splice it into the podcast.
Post that
you can see me get
America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I was just gonna say that I was so mad. If I was able to photograph weddings with you and then hand someone else the footage, I would do it all the time.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
Because that was the most, just being at a wedding all day with cameras with you was hilarious.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. You took like 2 pictures of me. I still use them. I think they're still like my my avatar for some.
That being said, Charlie, the guy that you have editing all your weddings now, you hired me as a second shooter with him.
You came and shot with him. Yes.
He was the director and the first camera operator, and I was the second
that's right.
The second man, and he was great too.
Yeah, he does a good job.
He did a really good job.
Charlie's fantastic. Yeah. Charlie's fantastic.
So I mean it just shows that you guys both have such a cool wedding brand. And then that trickles over into the commercial. I like that you said your weddings are kind of like a testing ground for things that you might
for sure
end up doing in the commercials.
For sure.
And that's what our daily reel is for us. I think we experiment with weird editing things we might want to do, or weird color grading things, and then apply them to actual client projects.
Totally.
I love that.
I wanted to ask, this is probably the most we'll have gotten into family on an episode because we talk about family on our Marco Polos. But I wanted to ask, your daughter recently showed an interest in filmmaking.
Oh yeah.
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 Is she still writing a script?
Writing a script is a little bit maybe too much, but she's still working. I think she really likes the planning process of figuring out who's going to play what character and stuff like that. When it actually comes down to like, okay, well, you got to get a script. You got to like, what's the story going to be about? Whatever. It's that part of it's become a little bit hard, that whole script writing part. I know that if I got camera out, we're like, all right, let's do this. The problem is that she doesn't, I'm trying to like go small. Like, how about you and your brother? Let's make a story about you guys in our house like that. And she's like, no. We're going to have this person. It's like, okay, this would be a very large, like our entire family would need to take like a week and a half off work and we'll hike up in the mountains to film this. So I'm not really sure what, if it'll, but she was really excited. She says, Dad, do you think this film will be on Netflix? I said, probably not, babe. Probably not. Let's shoot for YouTube. She's like, okay, all right, YouTube's fine.
No, I was just, you were telling me about that.
Yeah.
A couple months ago. And
Maybe
I just thought that was so,
staff pick.
Yeah, maybe a
Tweet
Vimeo
it.
stat pick.
Yeah.
No, it's a good tip.
I just thought that was super cute. And
Yeah, no, it's cool. And I mean, obviously if she, we'll see if she really wants to take an interest in doing some of this kind of stuff. If she wants, I mean, obviously every kid enjoys just making movies of themselves. I used to do that all the time. So I don't know if she'll really grab onto the like actual filmmaking part of it, where she wants to think through like telling stories and stuff like that, or if she just likes to see herself on camera. I'm good with either way. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to at least kind of imagine that as she grows up.
I like the idea of you shooting her film for her.
Yeah.
And put like getting it. If you put a lot of work into it, it could be like a funny video staff. Right. This. How old is your daughter?
She's 7.
I mean, if a 7-year-old wrote and directed a film that her dad DP'd and edited, it'd be kind of awesome. I mean, it's like all those. There's a lot of videos rolling around right now of like when your dad is a special effects.
Right, and they do all those cool things. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, those are just amazing.
Yeah.
So I think
we'll see. I don't know. Maybe
hands.
she'll if she gets into it, then we'll do it. But I don't know.
I just thought that was super cute.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to hear, just I don't know, your thoughts on I think Zach Trinka mentioned earlier
today.
On a podcast like
on
2
an
weeks
earlier
ago,
podcast, episode 11 or 12.
Yeah. No, he said that both of his parents were commercial photographers. And his dad told him growing up, you can do anything you want, just don't be a photographer. That was because like all the ups and downs that he had gone through.
For sure.
And he's like, somehow I ended up taking 24 frames per
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't take one. I wasn't taking one picture. I was taking 24. That was a really funny saying, and we remember that because it's pretty fresh right now.
Right.
My dad.
It was a few weeks ago.
It was a few weeks ago, but it was a few hours ago. My dad was in advertising when I was first born.
Okay.
He wanted to be an illustrator.
Oh, nice.
He was trying to get into like the New Yorker, or he wanted to get in with Marvel or something, and it never worked out. So we invited him to. He's in IT now. He's a phenomenal tech person, but we invited him to the Addy Awards.
That's right. Yeah.
And I could see it. He thought the film stuff was cool. He was proud of his kid, but what I really enjoyed was sitting at the table and when they were going over all the illustrations, all the illustrating awards.
Yeah.
And like the Inlander, one of our local publications. The Inlander won all these things for these cool cover art, and I could see my dad was like all focused in on those things.
You love that. That's cool.
And my dad likes coming in here and visiting with us, and I can tell that it's still something he wishes he would have been able to do.
Yeah.
I think he still could if he wanted to, but we're talking about kids and filmmaking. Your daughter's 7. I love that. I hope that plays out more.
Yeah, hopefully she's
we'll see.
Director or DP or something
my
like that.
3-year-old son he always talks about wanting to come in to work with Uncle Mitch.
Yeah.
With Dad and Uncle Mitch. My wife will text me quotes from our 3-year-old son.
Right.
She'll say, your son just put his backpack on and stood at the back door and said, "Bye, Mom. I'm going to work with Uncle Mitch to make daily reels."
That's funny.
We've been talking a lot about our Patagonia trip, and we want to make a fly fishing film.
Yeah.
And so the other day, he put his backpack on. He stood by the back door and he said, "Mom, I'm going to work to make a fishing film. I need to call Uncle Mitch." And he always
so funny.
I love that I love that our kids are growing up.
I always joke with my wife. I'm like, they're gonna have such an interesting like work. Like, what is work? Because I don't leave the house. I work from home, and I'm somebody who will almost always choose to play tennis for an hour with my son in the middle of the living room by using spatulas and a kickball, and we'll play for an hour in the middle of the day, and then I'll maybe do some work later that night, or maybe I just won't do any work that day. Yeah. And so I just wonder like what their view, and then obviously during the summer we'll be gone for a weekend or a day on Saturday or something, but I think their idea of like, oh, like Daddy wakes up in the morning and goes to work and then comes home at the end of the day is so foreign. Like the days that I have meetings or I'm gone all day, it's such a weird thing for them. So it'll be very interesting to see how they kind of interpret that going forward, because both my wife's a photographer. So like her work is at home on laptops and I'm working at home. And so work is something that to them, I think seems like it can always be interrupted and stopped, And so, it'll be kind of interesting to see how they kind of interpret that.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're like, you and I are home a lot more than most people would be, but we don't work in our homes. That would add.
Yeah, it adds a weird element to it. Certainly one that you can get distracted a lot easier.
I am blown away by how well you manage it.
Well, I wouldn't be blown away by it. It's not very well. I don't manage it very well.
I mean, the way that you have two successful brands,
sure, and
at the same time,
right. It took. You're
the most fun dad in the whole world.
It took years.
And you remodel your house all the time.
The thing is, to be honest with you, like, I don't think. I know. I was listening to somebody shared a video or something. It was like, what's that guy's name? Gary Vaynerchuk. You've heard of him? Everybody's heard of him, right? Yeah, Gary V. Yeah, okay.
That was good.
Anyways, I just discovered him for the first time ever. Anyway, so he was talking about like, being super, super successful in this video and like kind of what it takes. And I just was thinking like, that won't be me. And I'm cool with that. Like, because I'm not going to work 16 hours. I just don't, I don't want what it gives me. You know what I mean? And like, I'm cool with like, I'll work for like 5 hours a day spread out throughout my day so that I can spend that time with my kids and going, I have breakfast every morning with my kids. I take my daughter to school. I pick her up almost every day. And so like, those are things that to me are just a higher priority. And that's not to say that that's better or worse. It's just what it is. It's just what our priority is. But sometimes I have to remind myself, like, I'm not going to be like a huge successful filmmaker in LA. That's not really what I want anyways. But like, I know that it would take a consistent amount of hustle that I'm just not really willing to put in because I like this other stuff a little bit more. You know what I mean? And so that's been something that I feel like I've had to kind of like wrestle with, like, what do I want out of this kind of life? Not to get like too philosophical or anything, but like, what do I want here? And then what's worth, and I'm always on the side of like, I should be doing a little bit more work. Like, that's always my, like, I will never be the guy that like my wife has to be like, hey babe, you're working too much. Like, you're working too hard. That's just not how I'm wired. Like, I'm wired to not work ever. So it's always been the first year of being, working for myself and working from home was brutal. Like, a lot of stuff was late and a lot of time was wasted. And so I have gotten to a rhythm where I'm better at like, I can focus for a few hours. But you guys know in the creative world too, like, you can't go much longer than like 4 straight hours of doing something before you need a break. At least I can't. And I've heard that from other people. It's like, I can't edit a film for 16 hours. Like, I can go solid for 4 and then I need a couple hour break or something before I can go back to it. Because at a certain point, you're like, it's not just entering data into a spreadsheet. Like, you're doing something that's creative and requires a presence there. And so there are days where what I accomplish in an hour would have taken me 5 hours the day before, just because I'm not in the right kind of headspace, especially with weddings. And that was one of the things, again, that not to circle back around to weddings, that's another thing that weddings helped me figure out, was like, when you're doing wedding after wedding after wedding, like, you learn how to work when you're not feeling creative, and also know there's some other things I can do while I'm not being creative. I'm not going to force it because I know that it's not going to work. And so like that's a dance that I'm still working on, but definitely one that I think I've grown in a little bit more. But you kind of have to if you're going to work from home with 3 kids. That's for sure.
Totally. Do you implement deadlines in your work?
Yeah. And if it's been too long, I just email the client and be like, hey, it'll be done this day. And then I'm like, all right, it better be done that day. You know what I mean? So I'll do self-imposed deadlines. Sometimes there are deadlines that we have, but I'm always like, I always have on a calendar, like, this is when this film needs to be done. This is when this part of it needs to be done and stuff like that. But
it's the only way it'll get done with in the creative world, especially. I don't know. It's probably the same for manufactured products. Like, if the next iPhone didn't have a due date,
right. Yeah, they have to get it done. No,
they would probably actually solve the notch problem. So
obviously not.
Have you seen? Let's wrap this up in a second. But have you seen that new Galaxy with just you see Marquez Brownlee's little
all the wallpapers. Have you seen the Reddit? Like, just all the wallpapers.
I haven't seen all of them. No.
There's a Reddit thread with all these different creative wallpapers that utilize that. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Baymax one is the one that
Baymax School Wally. Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
Okay, Ryan, let's hear some of your favorite films, filmmakers, DPs, whatever. TV shows. What's hot in your mind? What's the first thing you think of right now?
I'm terrible at this.
No, you aren't.
Just one. Just pick one.
I'll tell you what I have been watching. The last week and a half, we've been going through The Newsroom again. It's Aaron Sorkin. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Have you never seen that?
No,
HBO show.
Fantastic.
I love Sorkin. I love his writing. I like his characters for the most part.
Yeah.
I just love the wit and the speed that he writes with. So yeah, that's been that. I don't know.
I'm watching Succession. Have you seen that?
I have not, but I've seen it. I know it. Yeah, I've heard of, seen it.
Yeah.
The Newsroom, is that something I should go watch?
It's really good.
When was that?
2010.
Is that a movie or is that a series?
Series.
It's a series.
3 seasons.
3 seasons
First
on HBO?
5 episodes are the greatest in the history of television, possibly. Okay. Then it's good, but it's not great after that. Season 2 is like, season 3 is like just whatever. But
it was still entertaining though.
Yeah, I like TV more than movies. I really do. I found myself, I will always lean towards watching a TV show as opposed to watching a movie.
Oh yeah, I think
I'm probably not alone with that, but for some reason it seems like I'll watch 5 episodes of a 30-minute Office or something, and that just feels, where a movie feels like too big of a commitment. It's like, I don't know if I can do a movie.
I believe, I don't know. I love feature-length films so much, and that was like what gave me my love for cinema and any sort of storytelling. But I find myself in the same boat. If it's 9:00 at night and I'm wanting to just lounge and turn on a show, I will thumb through movies, and this has been like going on the last couple of weeks because I want to watch a movie.
Right.
And then I find myself, I'll press play and I'm 10 minutes in and I'm like, oh no. Can I do this for 2 hours? And I want to watch the whole thing. I don't want to press pause in the middle of it.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'll go back and I'll find a show that I can watch that's an hour long, and maybe even if I fall asleep or start falling asleep and there's 10 minutes left of that episode, it's like, oh, whatever.
I'm like 4 episodes into True Detective this season, and then then we had a kid, and so I haven't watched it back. I want to finish it though. I really liked it so far.
We talked about this. I still haven't finished it.
You haven't finished it either?
No, I haven't finished True Detective at all. I watched
season 1?
No.
You haven't watched season 1?
Remember,
I finished season 1.
So I told you that it was way too dark for me to watch by myself.
For sure.
Not that was scary. It was
No, I understand what you mean.
like,
Dark. Yeah, it's dark. It's
I want
very
to
dark. Just wait till you get to the season finale.
Yeah, I want to experience it with somebody else
Wet your
and
pants.
not have to, because I want to be able to talk to somebody else after.
Mm-hmm.
Every episode was like that.
Right,
It's like,
right.
okay, now I'm going to bed with this like really
No, yeah,
dark
you can't have
feeling
that. No,
by
I
myself.
feel you. I feel you. I can't do that.
And so I'll watch it, and I'll probably end up watching it alone.
Yeah.
But
Watch it in the day. Watch it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and Sam.
Yeah.
Snuggle up right over there.
Yeah.
We would snuggle up right over there. We have talked about that on occasion.
Billions. That's another show
Coming
I
out.
love.
Barry.
You watch Billions.
Barry. I like Barry.
Season 2.
Barry. That was the one show that we started. Dad Therapy. We were talking about Barry.
Is that right?
We're texting about
Barry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Barry loves Barry.
season 3 comes out at the end of this month, and Billions comes out like next week.
Yeah, Billions is soon. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like 100 filmmakers that I'd be like, oh, like, yeah, I like them, but I don't know, man. This year I didn't watch. I think I saw 2 of the Best Picture nominees, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the same vein as Billions, as Barry, have you seen Kidding?
No.
You got to go watch that.
Kidding
is
Showtime.
It's Showtime.
Okay.
We
Jim
watched
Carrey.
it on Hulu, and it's a drama, and I heard some stuff about it. I went and I watched a little bit of it, and I told Mitch to watch it, and then Mitch like kept seeing a couple of them play. So Mitch and I finished it. I stopped for a while, and then Mitch said, dude, I'm on like episode 4, and I realized, oh, you're really in. Okay. So it was my show that I watched.
Sure.
I'm an early riser.
Okay.
So I get up, I usually work a little, I watch a show, and then everybody gets up. I like to make breakfast. We talk about family.
Nice.
I make breakfast
Love
in the
it.
mornings. We sit down with the kids. But Mitch and I hammered through Kidding and talked about it a lot, and that we reference that show
That's awesome.
quite a bit.
I love it.
Internally.
Yeah.
Right now.
Go watch it.
Kidding. All right, I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. It's probably, in terms of writing, it is the best show on TV right now.
Really?
In my
Yeah.
opinion.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It's still going?
I mean, just for a season. There's
Oh, so it's
came
just
out,
one season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be a
Nice.
second season.
There's
Yeah,
even
cool.
like they do a lot of long takes on there that are really. There's one in particular that made it the behind the scenes view of the long take made its rounds in the filmmaking community.
Oh, wow,
because
it was so impressive.
It was so complicated.
Wow.
They show that it was a steady cam, and they kept turning like this way, and then they would turn this way, and things you could see. It's like every time they turned around, it was supposed to be like someone over the course of a year, their life and their apartment changing
right.
and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the behind the scenes view is showing like when they turn this way, there's people moving couches
For
around.
sure,
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And then by the time they turn back here, the lady's sitting back down again.
That's
and then
awesome.
The
I
set's
love that.
changing over
Yeah,
here.
I love
And
that.
It was crazy.
we both saw that behind the scenes view float around.
Yeah.
And then when we
And
last
then
summer,
you actually watch the show.
then
Is
when
it
we
a
watched the
what
show,
is drama comedy?
Dramedy.
Okay.
yeah, drama comedy.
Yeah. It's
I'll check it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
okay. Well, should we wrap it?
I think so.
We're
I've
gonna
had
wrap
2
it.
cups of coffee.
This
beer.
is seriously, these podcast
Cool.
episodes are getting so long because
Yeah.
we get into
We enjoy these
roles with
conversations.
these conversations.
Yeah.
We've got good people.
We'll edit
coming
mine
in.
down so it's interesting.
Okay.
The
Okay.
whole thing.
We'll probably edit it down to the 5 minutes where
Perfect.
it was up
Just
interesting.
talking about blowouts.
Yeah, blowouts for sure.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. The Cinetherapy podcast is produced by Inland Film Co. Special thanks to Ryan Ferguson for joining us for a conversation on this podcast. If you are interested in connecting with Ryan, we listed his social media accounts in the description of this page. That's a wrap.